Hello, everyone. I am Donna Lynn Hilton, producer for Goodspeed Musicals, and I am delighted that you've joined us tonight for Greatspeed. I am joined here by my colleague, Dan McMahon. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
And our guest that I'm going to get to in just a minute. But welcome to Greatspeed. Tonight we're going to revisit our 2006 production of Pirates of Penzance. It was a big hit at the time, and we have had so much fun reliving it in the last week as we selected the clips that we're going to show you tonight. We're going to be joined by several of the brilliant talents that conceived and created this production, so you're in for a treat. Couple of cautions. Keep in mind that this archive was captured before we started recording shows in HD, so it's not your highest quality, but we're going to have a good time and some laughs. It's been so much fun. Dan.
Well, you know, and the video is about as foggy as my memories, because since this show was from 2006. You know what, I wanted to give you, those of you who are new to us at Greatspeed, a quick update on Goodspeed. As you know, both of our theaters have been dark for 2 months now. We've canceled 5 of 6 productions for 2020. South Pacific is scheduled to open September 11th, and we're watching carefully because, you know, that all depends on the guidelines from the state and what we'll be allowed to do, but that's our hope. And we can't wait to get back in that building and start making musicals then and again. But until then, we have Greatspeed and some other events online. So I think we should just get started.
I think we should too. So please welcome our guest, book adapter Nell Benjamin, director Gordon Greenberg, and Ed Dixon, who portrayed the Major General in our production. Hi, you guys.
Hey, how are you?
We're good.
So nice to see you all.
Do we have
Ed?
Ed? There he
There I am.
is.
Hello. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, love. How are you?
Hi.
Nice entrance, Ed.
Yes, very good
Thank
entrance.
you.
Seriously, everybody doing okay?
Absolutely.
I know.
Hello. It's
some of you were surprised to one another. I don't think Nell knew who was coming, so that's a treat. That's a treat. So that was such an incredible show. I've been looking back. I went into the library and looked at the archive, and we've been looking at these B-roll clips and selecting what we were going to use, and it's just been so much fun to revisit. This show was phenomenal.
It really was. And you know what I'd love to know? I mean, this was probably one of the funniest shows that I saw on the Goodspeed stage. I mean, it really was. And I don't remember. Gordon and Nell, how did this come about? This started with you guys.
Gordon would be in a better position. Yeah. Gordon would be in a better position to talk about that because I think, Gordon, didn't you and Michael Price sort of have the idea after the Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
Actually, this all happened during tech for The Baker's Wife at Paper Mill, which had originated at Goodspeed as well. And I was with Michael Gennaro, and he was talking about his kids having seen Pirates of the Caribbean and that they were crazy for it. And why isn't there a musical of that? And I said, that can be arranged fairly easily. And I happen to know a public domain musical that's extraordinary. All he needs is an extraordinary adapter. And I know that person too, because it was not long after we did Cam Jansen together off Broadway in New York. And I believe it took at least one fancy French lunch and a few begging phone calls and obsequious emails. Did we have email back then? I think
kind of, yeah.
But it took some convincing because Nell was such an admirer of Gilbert and Sullivan and thought of the work as pristine. She didn't want to touch it. And eventually we unearthed the idea that Gilbert and Sullivan themselves were satirists in their day. They were the Daily Show of their day. And I think they would have applauded everything that Nell did because it was very much in their spirit, not to mention the triple rhymes, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So Nell, had you ever done something like this? Had you ever adapted someone else's work?
I had adapted Legally Blonde into a musical, and I had adapted with Gordon Cam Jansen, which was a series of children's books, into a musical. And so, yeah, adaptation was not new to me. As Gordon says, my first thought was that you cannot touch Gilbert and Sullivan. They are, maybe you change a word here or there, like immute, that nobody knows anymore, but we're not really going to mess with it. But Gordon had this spectacular idea. What if it was a musical and not an operetta? And he knew of my love for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies as well. The first one I consider some of the finest film of the 20th century. And he thought, well, sort of our approach was not that kids who love those movies would then come and see Gilbert and Sullivan this way, and the show would be like a gateway drug for children into the work of Gilbert and Sullivan. And once we had a couple wine-soaked dinners, this seemed like a really good idea, as he said. And it was just so much fun to play with it. And we said the ground rules are that we don't cheapen the work, that if there's a triple rhyme, there in the original, if we change the lyric, there still has to be a triple rhyme. That we have to have enough of the original to make it clear what we were doing. But if we have a good reason, either satirical or plot-wise or character-wise, to change the lyric, we will let ourselves do that. And that was really fun.
Yeah, I remember pitching it to Michael Price, and he sort of came away thinking maybe it'll happen because it wasn't written yet. It was just a fancy. It was an idea. And he said, but worst comes to worst, it's Pirates of Penzance, and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So we can't do worse than that. And I believe,
too bad.
like at the season preview, I brought Will Chase up, and he put on eyeliner and just sang Pirate King as it.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And it was fabulous. And everyone said, all right, we get it. Just the eyeliner does it. And Will Chase had something to do with it. Pretty great.
Will Chase and eyeliner, I'll produce anything.
Exactly.
Whatever it is. All right, we have a lot of clips we want to show you.
Yeah,
and
let's see more.
We want to get to Mr. Dixon, but first, so the next clip we're going to look at is Ruth's song it's the second big song in the show. So for people who don't know the Pirates of Penzance, essentially a band of pirates led by the Pirate King, which in our production was played by Andrew Varela, have landed on a Caribbean island. They're intent on plundering as pirates do. They have a young apprentice, Frederick, in this production played by Jason Michael Snow. And in this clip, which follows the opening number that we saw a clip of at the beginning, we meet Frederick's nurse, the body Ruth, played by Joanna Glushak.
Sorry, was I wanted?
Ah! By what era was Frederick apprenticed to us?
I've sworn never to speak of it.
We'll give you rum.
But just this once can't hurt. When Frederick was a little lad, he proved so brave and daring. His father thought he'd apprentice him to some career seafaring. I was, alas, his nursery maid, and so it fell to my lot to take and wipe the promising boy apprentice to a pilot.
And hence the whole problem begins, right? I want to remind people that we're limited by how much of the show we can broadcast or share like this, so that's why you're getting little tiny clips. So that's why. If we ever can sort out the permissions to stream and archive with all the necessary organizations, we really ought to put this one at the top of the list.
This would be top of my list.
The quality of the capture is not great. It is so funny, and you can really even like this, you can really appreciate it. Sorry, Dan, you had the next question.
Oh, that's right. No. Nell, I was wondering, you mentioned you made changes. How much of the script, I've never seen, this is the only version of Pirates of Penzance I've seen. or Pirates Plundered. How much of it is it different from the original? Because like looks all the same to me.
So our plan didn't work, is what you're saying, that you did not go on to love Gilbert Sullivan.
Oh, well, I haven't. I've been too busy.
We changed.
Maybe now that I'm home all the time.
You were breaking up.
We actually, what's funny is there have been versions since. So I think Ruth's song, we didn't change a lot of. We kept most of it up to the end where Ruth sort of explains why she signed on. But we changed a lot. There's no recit in our version. And it's cut by a fair bit. We interpolated songs from other shows. For instance, the Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl movie has a curse in it. Pirates of Penzance does not have a curse in it, but Ruddigore does have a curse in it. So we moved the Ruddigore curse into our show to sort of drive the plot of why the pirates were looking to marry the governor's daughters, the major general daughters, because you don't really think of pirates as being the marrying kind. So it just always seemed odd that they were pursuing marriage with these girls so completely. So we did that. And of course, one of the best things we did happened because of Ed Dixon's audition. When he came in, I can't even believe you had to audition for this role, but he came in to audition. And he came in with a prayer song from Iolanthe, and was so astonishingly brilliant that Gordon and I were like, not only should he be in the show, but we need to put that song in our show for him to do. And that became a modified version of that became our Act 2 opener.
Yeah, I was going to say the fundamental change that we walked into the show with was that instead of setting it in Penzance, which was a joke in and of itself, because Penzance is a lovely section of Cornwall. So it's like the Pirates of Scarsdale, Pirates of Westport. We moved the whole thing to the Caribbean, which is why we excised the of Penzance from the title, because they no longer are. But I think Nell changed probably 75% of the text is different, lyrics and dialogue, by the time we opened, because she was writing the entire time. That was one of the most joyous and fruitful processes I've ever been a part of, because the pages flowed. I wasn't used to writers who were as bountiful as Nell is, and as easy to make changes. So I would be working on a scene with Ed, with Farrah, with Jason. I remember it so clearly. And as the thought was forming in my head, like, could this be better? Could it be clearer, sharper? I'd see Nell's hand slide across the desk with a fresh piece of paper and a new scene already written. It was so great. So that kind of mind meld doesn't happen a lot. And a place like Goodspeed really fosters it, because you're living so closely that you're experiencing the same things day and night, for better, for worse, which was frequently red wine and pirate movies. So we were steeped in it.
We say that's the secret to our success. There's nothing else to do. So you might as well work and make great musical theater. All right. We're going to look at a couple of Ed's clips. We're going to start with the Modern Major General clip because it comes first in the show. So let's look at that, Ed, and then we'll talk about it. Okay.
I am the very model of a modern major general. I've information, vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the kings of England, and I quote the fights historical, from Marathon to Agincourt and order categorical. I'm very well acquainted too with matters mathematical. I understand equations both the simple and quadratical. About binomial theorem, I'm teeming with a lot of news, with many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. With many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse. Many cheerful facts about the square of the hypotenuse.
It's so funny. So funny. So funny. Yay!
Like, yay!
So Ed, tell us
Well, it
your
was 10
version of
times
how you
faster
came.
than that in real life. That's all I have to say.
Maybe we slowed it down so people could hear you on this. I don't know.
This is how I remember it. I was in Boston doing Bottom and Midsummer Night's Dream. I got a call. I had to fly to London to do Tale of Two Cities for PBS. And meanwhile, these pages started coming in of rewritten versions of Pirates that I was supposed to be learning while I was doing those two things. And I would no sooner learn one of them than Nell would change the whole thing and I'd have to learn it again. The reason I did the Nightmare song at my audition was because it was my big go-to piece for concerts and for anything. And so I'd done it hundreds of times. So the idea of relearning the hardest song in the entire repertoire with different lyrics once but then twice.
Yes, I remember being the recipient of some noise about that. Yes, I remember that. Yes. Now, Ed, you had...
And when you have a Ferrari, you don't keep it in the garage. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying. In order to do even one of those patter songs, you have to do something crazy to your brain so that you know that it's going to come out no matter what. And what that is you have to do it all day, every day until the show is over.
I think we should go, now that we're here, we should go to the Nightmare song, which is out of order. Michael, can you do that? I know I'm creating problems for you, but can we go to the Nightmare song? I'm sure he can do that. He's a magician. Maybe I'm wrong. Yes, hold on. He's coming. Okay. You're muted, Ed. You're muted. Hold on one second. I just have to vamp. All right. Well,
And here's what I wanted. You talked about those patter songs. Did you ever wake up in a nightmare of your own? Like, oh my God, I forgot the words, or you screwed it up. You're like those dreams we have of high school or something.
Oh, Ed, you're muted.
He's muted. I'm not sure. I think that Michael has to unmute him. Yeah, there we go. You're free.
When you're doing these things, you have to go into this different mode. Patter songs are not like anything else. And normally you would do the big patter song all day until you did, but because this had two, one in the first act and one in the, all day I would do the first one until it was done. Then I'd go to my dressing room and I'd start drilling the second one until that was done. And finally you can relax and do the rest of the show. It never stopped. Every single performance was like that.
Okay. I think that we are ready for the Nightmare song now. Thank you, Michael. Sorry to throw that in.
The dismal headache and mistakes that you made are tormenting you, and you don't want to think, but you can't sleep a wink, for the guilt in your soul is preventing you. Then your brain is on fire, the bedclothes conspire of usual slumber to plunder you. First your comforter goes and uncovers your toes, and your sheets are all bunching up under you. Then the bedclothes all creep to the ground in a heap, and you pick them all up in a tangle. Next your pillow resigns and politely declines to remain at its usual angle. When you get some repose in the form of a doze with hot eyeballs and head ever aching, but your slumbering dreams with such horrible dreams that you'd very much rather be waking. For you dream that the pillow and sheets start to billow like sails in a gale on the ocean, and your bed is a boat that is barely afloat and it rocks with a sickening motion. Then the waves toss and turn at your seafaring furniture just like a storm off Cape Hatteras. And what's worse now, the pirate king tries to acquire it by grappling and boarding your mattress. And there's suddenly hordes of more pirates with swords, and they swear and they dare you to fight them. You're not brave or a boaster, but it's your four-poster, and damn it, you didn't invite them. So you grab your stuffed bear, which you wave in the air like a sword of the mighty Achilles, and you parry and slash at some piratey trash with a parrot that gives you the willies. The man smells like a bar, and he's shouting out "R," and he's waving a broken rum bottle. But what's more a concern is his parrot is turning into the god Quetzalcoatl.
It's just absolutely brilliant. Nell and Ed and Gordon, it's all just absolutely brilliant. And the way that you delivered it, you can hear the audience laughing at every one of them. It just kills me.
Quetzalcoatl has never before or after appeared in a Broadway musical.
Many have tried. Yeah. No, I enjoyed the rhyming of rum bottle with Quetzalcoatl. It was, but again, it was very much, we made all those changes because it was part of our show, it was part of our plot. The Major General is having a nightmare because he lied to the pirates, so he's having a nightmare about pirates. So that's why it seemed so much better than to have him sing about his guilty soul. Let's just do what Ed does best. Yeah. Actually, I'm sure Ed does everything well, but let's just do this and make it work. So that was very fun.
So Ed, you had some history with this show, but you had never played this role before, correct?
When I was young, I played Frederick. Because I have to do everything before I die. And then, of course, George Rose was the most amazing Major General. I saw him do that. And I always knew I would do it someday. So I'd already worked on it and learned it with the original lyrics, which did me no good here.
No good.
Was tongue exercises, speech exercises, I assume. Yes. Oh my goodness. All right. We're going to go back. I'm sorry to do this to you. We're going to go back to the end of Act One. We're going to see the finale of Act One, Away, Away, which was one of my favorite moments in the show for a lot of reasons. And I can't remember how much of this clip it is. I don't think it's the whole piece, but it's fun. So whenever you're ready, Flynn.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah.
Men, we are pirates once more! And now we are frustrated, angry pirates! To the ship! Away, away! Without a bride, we must return to sea without delay. Domestic bliss, we are denied. So with the tide we sail away, away. Away, away! I don't receive. You cursed pirates fill me with dismay. Stop getting sick aboard my beat. Who's going to clear the space? Away, away! We must return to our own career of looting, burning, and inspiring fear. We come to pick your pockets, rob your house, and then get licked up and tip your cows. Yes, yes, my dog will tip your cows. Get drunk and rum and tip your cows. Ah! We'll tip your cows, as we try too much liquor, and then carouse. Nude in front of the vicar, see it a wink. We can pillage and riot, should something break, and we won't even buy it. We'll take it up to a chicker, and then carouse in front of the vicar. See it a wink, we can pillage and riot, should something break, and we won't even buy it. Away, 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 we have a day. Tip cows, one happy wedding house. We carouse and tip cows. We'll never find spouses that way.
Wow, that turned out to be the whole thing. I thought we had just a short clip.
That's so
I'm
true.
so glad we saw the bird.
I know. To watch that again is to remember these things, like the 30-minute argument over whether it was like shoot bird or bird shoot, and people who started to hitch step at different times. I mean, one of my favorite things, Gordon and I and Ed and Jason Michael Snow, so many of the people had the same sense of humor. So like we would all giggle on, we have a date with cows, which is the same things I feel like made us all laugh. And just to watch everybody take those things and run with them it's a lovely memory.
So fun.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this chance to just look back on it. I mean, this video is secreted somewhere in the depths of Goodspeed, and I know I once watched it at Lincoln Center. They have a copy, but mere mortals can't have one. So such a nice thing to revisit. Theater is so ephemeral, and you try to hold on to the memories, but coming back to it like this is a real treat. So thank you, Donalyn and Dan. And
Our pleasure.
It's a reminder, like Gordon says, of what a place we had to play. And I believe we made the most of it.
Oh,
But boy, thank God we had it, or
Yeah.
we've never had that much fun.
What happened afterwards? Because you guys, you started here, but you had other productions of this, and you kept working on it, didn't you?
Yeah, it went from Goodspeed to Paper Mill, same route that Baker's Wife had gone, and I believe that was the plan before that. It on its way to Paper Mill, they went through a very rough period, and they almost went belly up. And they raised enough money, they pulled it together so that we were able to do literally a 9-day rehearsal and an encore style concert version of the show, which is what opened there and ran. And thank goodness we had people like Ed and Farah and Andrew Varela who were stalwart and remembered their roles and also helped us convey the spirit to all the new cast members. It was a bit of a transition, putting it in a very different space. But once again, it was a beautiful production, and we then went from there to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Huntington.
And did another production at the Huntington with some other new cast members. Learned a lot, things that we liked, things that we didn't like, but it gave us time to experiment and get to know the show and see it in front of different audiences in different spaces. And the most recent production was 6 years ago at the Muni. And Mike Isaacson has been a champion of this show since he first saw it. He was producing Legally Blonde, which Nell and Larry, her husband, were, I think, in the midst of writing at the time. And Mike came up with Kristen Caskey, and I'll never forget, I think they called Nell from the car on the way home, from their car phone. Wasn't that long ago. And they were so excited, and they said, "I love this."
I think some smart
Actually,
producer should. Sorry, go ahead now.
I was going to say the running joke was that we did the same production or a similar production on Goodspeed stage, which is one of the smallest stages you can work on. And then we took it to the Muni, which is a giant stage. So we were just like, we're going to try everything with this show.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
if you
happened
want this show, you
previously.
can do it.
I know.
Holiday Inn went from Goodspeed to the Muni. I've said to the people at the Muni that although we're so different physically, our audiences have a lot in common in terms of what appeals to them.
Yeah, that must be it. And it's very different in terms of process. Goodspeed is this long incubator where you have lots of time and space to experiment, and then you do it in this warm hug of a jewel box theater. And at the Muni, you do the whole show again in 9 or 10 days at a 12,000 seat theater. For those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with it, it's a glorious place, but it's fast and huge. And it really does test the quality and the durability of a show and how well something conveys. I always say there are things you can get by with on charm that aren't always as well built as they could be, but when you blow it up, it's sort of like taking a magazine photograph, a newspaper photo, and looking at the pixels, and all of a sudden you're inspecting every piece of it. So a place like Goodspeed gives you the time to tinker and get all those elements in order, and then a place like the Muni gives you this fabulous platform for it. And it's strange how connected they continue to be.
Yeah. Ed,
I do remember trying
sorry.
to do Cat-Like Tread, and when we did it at Goodspeed, we almost had, it was almost film-like, because we could have someone enter immediately or peek out from a curtain, and they would be right there in the theater because the theater is so intimate. And then we took it to the Muni, and it would take them a good 3 minutes to get to their spot, just to even get on the stage. So figuring out that comic timing so a person could come crashing in as opposed to run, crash in was always very, very intriguing.
So
I
Ed,
loved
I have a clip I want to show you and get your reaction to. So there's so much great comedy in the show, and in reviewing all of it, I ran across this little clip, just a scene between you and Jason and Farrah that always made me laugh so hard. So let's go ahead with it, and then we'll get your reaction to it.
Did I not fear that the consequences would be most disastrous to myself?
Oh, sir, well, be comforted, for I have hatched a plan. Well, actually, Mabel hatched it. Her idea was to recruit a kind of a defensive force from the local islanders, and they could police the town and arrest pirates and other rowdies.
Well, I don't think much of Mabel's plan, but I like yours.
But it's the same plan.
Hush, Peanut, the men are talking. So, could you...
I just love that. And what? Oops.
Oh, you're muted. Ed.
Oh,
There we go.
hello.
We can hear you.
It's all coming back to me now.
Touch Peanut, the men.
Also,
Yes.
Farrah's look at the audience is so genius.
I know. Can we talk about Farrah? We had just worked with her on Cam Jansen, and she had this incredible big belty effortless voice, which we loved, and we didn't know, right, that she could do the soprano. It's such a different
This was a new thing for her.
skill set, and she could, and she was just phenomenal.
So funny. Her Farrah also has one of those unique senses of humor that's fresh and unexpected, and grounded in something very kind-hearted, and I especially appreciate that.
Yeah. Dan, you have another clip to introduce? Oh, you're muted.
Dan is.
I was on mute. Sorry, I was muted. Constabulary duty. I can't even say it right. I couldn't do it.
Constabulary duty.
This is one led by Jerry McIntyre, who, while he was there, became the mayor of East Haddam, walking up and down the street. They would wave and stop cars, all the townspeople, because they loved him. And I should note the choreography from the show is by Warren Carlyle, who had done several Goodspeed shows all over New York. But watch this and just enjoy it.
We must do our best to capture these pirates alone. I'll play a little around the horn for you.
But they can't harm, we're gonna die. That pirate's gonna kill us.
Someone has got to take care of those pirates, and we're wearing the uniforms. Henry, you're gonna spend your whole life as a town drunk? Don't you want to make something of yourself?
I want to make myself a drink, sir. Thanks, sir. We can't beat those pirates.
Oh, yes, we can. There's nothing to be afraid of. They're just men like us. They get scared like we do. They have dreams like we do. Mostly, they just want to be left alone.
Like we do.
When a felon's not engaged in his employment, or maturing his felonious little plans, his capacity for innocent enjoyment, is just as great as any honest man's. I know we're only fighting under protest, but constabulary duty must be done. You know, something that I only just now noticed. A policeman's lot is not a happy one!
No, it's not. When constabulary duties to be done. A policeman's lot is not a happy one.
Oh, it was just getting good.
We can only do so much time. The video was getting a little bouncy there, but I wanted to include that because it was just so fun and it had the Caribbean flavor of the dancing.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. The music, you could really hear the Caribbean in there. And that was John McDaniel, wasn't it? Put all that in. You could really hear it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. John did all new arrangements, and we had new orchestrations at this point by who did it? Dandelion?
Yeah.
Anyway, fabulous. All the music was just wonderful. But it's so, I have to say, the good part, if there is such a thing, of this interesting time where we're all forced to be separate and find other ways of connecting, is that we're connecting through memories and bringing those back in these potent ways. It's really a time of great, to me, thinking about this. It was so creative and so productive, and forging these great friendships with you and spending time together in a meaningful way. I do miss it, and everything Goodspeed afforded us in the creation of the show that went on. And hopefully, this is inspiring me. I don't think I can live with myself if we don't get this up somewhere. It's going to be in my garage in Pound Ridge. So if anybody,
I want to come and see it again.
If I had a bunch of money, we'd be talking revival in New York, because I think that this is the kind of entertainment that people are going to be hungry for when they come back to the theater. I really do think so. So maybe it's revival time, guys.
Totally.
It was 14 years. That's long enough, I think.
I wonder how those government jokes are going to play.
Oh, goodness. They are evergreen. They're evergreen now. There's no administration that's immune to those jokes.
There wasn't since 1880 the same jokes. Yeah.
Oh my God, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Okay, we have a special. We have a guest who we can't bring him in, but I want to say Michael Price is here, and he says it's great to see you guys and to see these excerpts. This is a production to be cherished.
Oh, hi, Michael Price.
All right, guys. I promised I wouldn't keep you all night. So we have to leave our audience wanting more. I learned that from my mother. So we have one more clip and then we're gonna wrap up. And this is the finale of the show. So of course, everything wraps up happily. Every pirate lands a daughter of the Major General, and the Pirate King and Ruth end up together, which didn't really surprise anybody that was watching all night long. But let's take a look at the finale of the Goodspeed production of Pirates. Book adaptation by Nell Benjamin, musical supervision by John McDaniel, direction by Gordon Greenberg, choreography by Warren Carlyle, and starring a lot of delightful people, among them the beautiful Dixon, who we're so happy to have with us tonight. So this is the finale of the show. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Major General, sir, since we don't have to fight the pirates anymore, permission to do what we always wanted to do. Start a band! Permission granted. If you play weddings at reasonable rates. Right home. Ruth, come here.
So you can't break the curse with Ruth. You'll be a pirate all your days.
I know, but I like her. She's feisty. Besides, I'm not ready to retire. For I am a pirate king. He is a robber pirate king. And it is a glorious thing to be a pirate king. I am a pirate king. You are a robber pirate king. But judge me not, society's got a lot of pirate king. It has the robber pirate king. The robber pirate king.
I looked for an eye patch. I wanted to do this whole night with an eye patch. All right, guys, thank you so much. Dan, you have the next to final word here, I think.
Well, I just wanted to thank all of our members, our subscribers, who to date have donated their tickets back, their refund tickets. As Gordon said, that the memories we're looking at show us how important theater is to so many of us, and the joy we feel at the Opera House. And so donating those tickets back and donations to us right now really help make sure that we'll be here next year. I mean, and in the fall, like we can't survive without the revenue, and we really appreciate that. So if you haven't heard from the box office about your tickets, you will. Please consider donating. If you'd like to make another donation, go to the Goodspeed website, goodspeed.org. It's right on the homepage. We make it really easy. But all of us from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And we can't wait to get back and make great musicals again for you.
And next Tuesday, we'll be back here on Greatspeed to feature our 2011 production of Showboat. Everybody remembers that big hit, directed by Rob Ruggiero. And Thursday night of this week, I'll be back here to share Grow, a new musical that was part of our Festival of New Musicals this year. 7 o'clock this Thursday night back here. Please join us. Guys, thank you so much, everybody, for being with us. Stay safe.
So much fun.
We'll see you at the Galveston House after.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.